A lone wanderer survives in a post-apocalyptic wasteland and joins rebels fleeing across the desert from an enraged dictator.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
The story begins in the future, amidst a scorched earth poisoned by radiation. After snacking on a random lizard, Max senses trouble approaching and hops into a car to slip away. However, he is immediately pursued by a gang of predatory raiders who overturn the car and capture Max. He is taken to the Citadel, where he undergoes a haircut and is branded with a serial number, only not on his arm, but on his back. Not wanting to stay there for long, Max decides to escape. He makes his way through the narrow passageways, fighting off pale guards and tormented by visions of dead comrades. Upon reaching the exit, he realizes he is inside a cliff. In an attempt to escape, he clings to a dangling hook, but the raiders pull him back. At this time, the head of the Citadel, Immortan Joe, prepares to exit in front of his subjects. Crowned with awards, Joe appears before the crowd in an intimidating costume. He announces the departure of the caravan led by War Lady Furiosa. But the route is not to Diamond City, but to the neighboring points of Benzinsk and Lead Farm. In celebration, he briefly opens access to water supplies, which causes jubilation among the inhabitants. Such luxuries are rare in this world. As the caravan departs, his son Rictus orders him to signal the nearest settlement to exchange resources. But on the way, Furiosa suddenly changes course, claiming to know a safer route. Her escorts follow her without question. Joe, noticing the diversion, rushes to the hidden room where his concubines were previously kept. Once there, he discovers that all the women have escaped, leaving him a message about their decision to save their children from his power. At this time, Max is assigned as a source of blood for the frail warrior Nax, one of the Citadel's many fighters. Hearing the alarm, Nax decides to take part in the chase, hoping to die in battle rather than from illness. To do so, however, he has to take Max with him, who is chained and fitted with a steel muzzle. He is tied to the front of the car, after which Nux rushes off in pursuit to the rhythm of drums and the sound of electric guitar. During the chase, Nux meets the gaze of Immortan Joe, which adds to his confidence. He accelerates sharply, surging forward while Max clutches onto his bindings, not sharing his ideas. Meanwhile, Furiosa's caravan notices the flares that Joe's convoy is using to summon help. Realizing they are cornered, Furiosa changes direction, but in doing so brings the convoy directly under attack by a gang of porcupines. The robbers attack the motorcade, but despite losses among the motorcyclists, Furiosa's men successfully destroy several enemy vehicles. At this time, a heavy truck of bandits catches up with them, which is not so easy to get rid of. Joe's convoy is also approaching. The first to rush are Nux and his partner, using spears with explosives to destroy the enemies. One of the wounded warriors, realizing that he will not survive, makes a selfless jump on an enemy vehicle. The enemy's truck begins to go around the side of the truck. Nux accelerates so that his comrade can take aim at the driver. At the same time, the attacking crane with a seesaw approaches the cab. Nux, without slowing down, reverses the car. Max, tied up in the front, sees the grenades attached to the truck go off, destroying the porcupine transport. Left without pursuers, the caravan tries to get away from Joe's charges. Furiosa steers the truck into a giant, terrifying sandstorm. Max, trying to free himself, spots Nux, who gets in his way. A fight ensues, during which Max throws his opponent down. However, he himself also does not have time to hide in the cabin and has to cling to the back of the truck, escaping from the raging whirlwind. In the storm itself, lightning and tornadoes destroy some of the pursuers, which makes Nux ecstatic. Nax accelerates his car to the limit, tearing off fuel hoses to turn the transport into a fiery projectile. Overtaking the truck, he prepares to blow it up, but Max, taking advantage of the torn roof, overtakes control. As a result, Nux's car ends up in the path of the truck, resulting in a collision. The remains of the vehicle fly apart, while Furiosa's truck continues on its way like an unstoppable locomotive. Max regains consciousness like a discarded piece of trash, lightly dusted with sand. He finds an unconscious Nux through the bloodstream connection and decides to free himself by shooting his arm off. However, the bullets misfire. Hearing the noise, he grabs the bandit and the car door, dragging them forward, where Furiosa tries to clean the stalled truck's filters of sand. There he discovers not only the one-armed warrior, but also Joe's escaped concubines, who are giving themselves a luxurious bath, wasting precious water. While Max is fiddling with the chain, Furiosa attacks him, knocking him to the ground. The shotgun fails, and the woman has to continue fighting with the support of her companions. They yank the chain, distracting the enemy. Furiosa lunges for the hidden weapon, but Nux comes to her senses and attacks her. Max snatches the gun, but Furiosa takes out a clip beforehand, which Nux immediately picks up. The fight continues, despite the girl's numerical advantage. Teaming up with Nux, Max gets the gun and fires a shot near Furiosa's head, warning her. Freeing himself from the chain with wire cutters, he takes Nux's jacket from him, and after one last punch in the stomach, gets behind the wheel of the truck and drives off. Furiosa tells her companions to run after her, but soon the engine dies again. The woman has installed an interlock beforehand so that no one but her can drive the car. She offers a deal. They drive off together, getting rid of the pursuit. After hesitating a bit, Max agrees, because Furiosa promises to remove his muzzle. Getting behind the wheel, she starts the car. The waking Nax catches up with the truck and climbs onto the trailer. At this time, a convoy of Joe's allies from Benzinski, led by Ogre, is coming from the other side to intercept. Suddenly, the truck loses speed. Max gets out to figure out the cause. Turns out the trailer's wheels are blocked. While he's powering up and trying to remove the mask, Nux sneaks around the tanker and attacks Furiosa. He is quickly neutralized by the girls and thrown outside. Joining the chase is the lead farm squad, another of Joe's allies. As they approach the gorge, Furiosa orders everyone to hide. She arranges for passage, but the condition is to ride alone. Stopping at the designated spot, she goes out to negotiate with the bikers. Fuel in exchange for safe passage and a rock pile behind them. But the bikers notice they're being pursued by an entire army, not just a few cars. Realizing that the deal is a bust, Furiosa signals, and Max starts the lorry. She climbs in through the hatch, and the bikers, realizing the threat, pile the passage with rocks and rush off in pursuit of the fugitives. Meanwhile, Joe's allies, who are stuck in the gorge, begin to remove the rubble. Joe himself climbs over the rocks in his jeep, picking up Nux along the way. Sitting behind the wheel, Joe prepares to open fire on the fugitives, but they are blocked by a pregnant Precious. He values his children too much to risk their lives. Nux is tasked by him to get to the driver through the tanker. He is honored, as Joe is a godlike figure to him. But Nux gets caught in the chain and drops his revolver, disappointing his boss. Joe takes up the attack himself. He unleashes a harpoon, damaging the controls of the wagon. However, June bites the chain with wire cutters. The lovely one does not have time to hide in the cabin, slips and falls right under the Bigfoot, which overturns from the collision. The fugitives break loose, stopping to cool the engine, and then continue eastward in search of mysterious green lands. One of the wives comforts a depressed Nax, who has already missed the chance to die in battle 3 times. The truck speeds through the night and drives into a swampy area. Max lays mines, on which the leading cars of the pursuers are blown up. The truck gets stuck in the mud, and the fugitives have to put anything they can get their hands on under the wheels. Encouraged by one of his wives, Nax gets behind the wheel and helps pull the truck out. At that moment, the tracked transport of a gunsmith from Lead Farm approaches them. Furiosa, using the last round of ammunition, with Max's assistance, smashes the searchlight, blinding the enemy. In a rage, the blinded gunner fires at random, continuing his pursuit. Max and Nux secure a rope to a tree and use a winch to pull the Furiosa out, breaking several trees in the process. In the morning, Furiosa confesses that she comes from the Greenlands but was kidnapped as a child. The Furia, traversing the desert, stumbles upon a tower glinting in the sun with metallic elements. A naked woman sits on top, crying for help. Max suspects a trap and warns of it. However, Furiosa steps forward and calls herself the broodmother of 1,000 mothers. Afterward, several female motorcyclists, also belonging to the tribe, come down to join them. They greet Furiosa cheerfully, but do not trust the men. Their meeting is marred by the fact that the Greendales, which the woman remembers from her childhood, have long ago turned into a lifeless swamp, which the fugitives crossed at night. Although Furiosa is distressed, during a rest stop at night, one of the women says that they have a stored supply of seeds. They hope that someday they will be able to find fertile land and revitalize it with plants again. In the morning, the women and Nux leave, leaving Max a motorcycle as a token of their gratitude. After being alone and seeing a few hallucinations, he quickly catches up with those who have left, suggesting another option: return to the Citadel, block Joe's army in the gorge by blowing up a cistern, and create green land in that place using water. The bandits lodged in the mountains notice the truck and rush in pursuit, realizing that Furiosa is heading for the gorge. Several cars catch up with her and hooks onto the tanker, slowing her down. Max, armed with a bolt cutter, unhooks the trailers, himself nearly falling over when an enemy truck strikes the Fury, piercing the roof with a harpoon. Soon, fighters with poles jump onto the tanker, climbing on top, forcing Max into the fray. One of them throws a grenade into the cab. Another tries to choke Furiosa but gets hit by one of the women. The fight for the truck continues, and the enemies even use chainsaws, turning what is happening into a real chaos. Max is wounded by an arrow in his arm. One of the attackers pulls one of Joe's wives out of the cab. Upon waking up, Max enters the fray. He nearly falls under the wheels, but Furiosa saves him at the last moment. However, she is stabbed in the side by one of her enemies, but is immediately shot in the eye and receives angry retribution from the enraged women. Meanwhile, the enemy's tech is getting bigger and bigger, but Nux manages to restore the engines, and the power of the truck increases dramatically, sweeping away one of the enemy vehicles. Nux helps Max jump to the truck of Ogre, the leader of Benzinski. There, Max quickly kills the guards, neutralizes the Ogre, and gets behind the wheel. Realizing the change of driver, the flamethrower tries to attack Max, but Furiosa rams him. Soon, Max is informed that Furiosa is injured. He, pressing the Ogre to the gas pedal, returns to the truck. However, one of the fighters tries to grab him, but Max manages to fight him off. He gets to the music platform, where he briefly lets the guitarist know that he doesn't like the concert. On the approach to the gorge, Furiosa tries to stalk Joe. Realizing the situation, Furiosa hands over control to Nux and heads towards the truck. At this point, Rictus, Joe's son, gets out of the cab, but one of the wives distracts him to help Furiosa. Soon Max returns and engages in a fight with the thug. He manages to win only with the support of an old sniper. Nux, who has time to step on the gas, helps Furiosa get to Joe, and she, sacrificing her prosthesis, tears off his breathing mask along with his skin, killing the enemy. Max drags her into the back of the truck, then commands the others to get into the Jeep. Nux tells his companion that he will be the last to leave. When Rictus regains consciousness and tries to catch up with them, Nux, realizing there is no time, turns the wheel, overturning the truck. The fuel reserve is enough for a massive explosion, clogging the passageway. Max, having finalized the plan, gives Furiosa medical attention by punching an extra hole for breathing. They soon arrive at the Citadel, where Max shows the soldiers the body of dead Joe, disproving his mythical invulnerability. The crowd scatter his remains. Joe's warriors find themselves broken. However, they acknowledge Furiosa and take the elevator up, and the mothers turn on the water system. When Furiosa, rising to her dream, looks down, she sees Max walking away through the crowd. The lonely traveler is left alone again, just as he was at the beginning of the journey. This is where the movie ends.